So there's two questions here. One of the questions is, why are there often small sets of deities in front of the large deities? And the other question, which I'll attempt to answer together with this, is why aren't the deities bathed with water daily? So in a traditional Pancharatric temple, there's deities for different functions. You have deities for offering bhoga to, you have deities for putting to bed, you have deities for taking out on festivals, you have deities for bathing, deities for putting into bed, all these different functions. In Gaudiya Vaishnava temples, the Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, that they tend to simplify the process as much because they understand that in this age people are not necessarily so qualified. So to follow all the rules and regulations that are described in the Pancharatra is very, very difficult. So in order to make it more approachable for the living entities of this age, they've simplified the process of deity worship to its, its minimum sort of formula. And we see in a Gaudiya Vaishnava, particularly in an ISKCON temple, that they have the large, what they call the darshan deities, the main deities of the temple, generally made of marble, although sometimes they're made of wood, sometimes brass, even sometimes we see synthetic materials are being used to make deities. Prabhupada instructed Brahmananda one time to make deities out of rubber. And some temples we know they also have deities made of fiberglass. So whatever the deity is made from is not so important. Obviously we use materials that are permanent in nature rather than the materials that are more perishable. But generally we find with the large deities they're not bathed each day because for one thing is the liquids affect the marble. The marble tends to lose its shine after some time. And so that's with the darshan deities, or the larger deities. But we also find that there's a small set of brass deities in front of the altar, in front of the large deities, usually at the feet of the large deities. And these smaller deities, they serve all the functions, all the other functions that are, generally you find in a Pancharatric temple, or if you go to, say, for instance, the temple in Puri, they'll have different deities for these other functions, such as, feeding the deity, putting him to bed, bathing him, taking him out on festivals, etc. So the smaller brass deities, they're usually bathed every day. With these small deities, then generally there's a procedure called Sosa Upachar Puja, whereby the deities are offered a place to sit, then they're greeted with sweet words, their feet are bathed, they're offered some water for reception, then offered water for refreshing the mouth, and they're offered a very auspicious type of food. Then again they rinse their mouth. Then we undress the deities and we bathe them, dry them, dress them, ornament them, then offer them some ganda or chandan on their forehead, flowers, incense, lamp, something to eat, and then finally we offer prayers to them. So all these things in an ISKCON temple are actually offered to the brass deities, or sometimes you see that the temples, they have Shalagram Shila. Shalagram Shila is very interesting because the Lord appears in a very, very small form, which you can hold him in your hand. And very quickly you can offer all these items of worship. It's not a difficult thing to offer the worship to a Shalagram Shila, full worship, in under an hour. Sometimes we see devotees can even do it in half an hour. And the Shalagram Shila is quite convenient because you don't have to dress him so much. You don't put clothes on the Shalagram. You can put, he can sit on a cloth which can serve as his dhoti, and then you put a cloth behind for the chadar, but it's very, very simple. So we see there's many, the Lord manifests himself in many different forms, and according to the form, the Lord we worship in a particular way. With a brass deity, then daily you can bathe and polish, whereas with a marble deity, then you wouldn't bathe him, generally wiping down with dry cloth. But you can dress the marble deity, you can ornament the marble deity very elaborately. And you'll see, in many temples, just like here, with Sitaram Lakshman, the way they're dressed today, very, very elaborate dressing. You go to places like Tirupati, Tirumala, and you can see, the way they ornament Balaji, very, very elaborate. But this is not so easy to do with a small deity, and also with a small deity, it's very difficult to see them from a distance. So, there's many at least in an ISKCON temple, the small brass deities serve many, many functions.